something I didn't know. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Welcome to the October 12th, 2014 edition of Charles Potter's Straight Talk. I'm Wolfgang Baumgart, State Chairman of the Independent Party of Delaware. With us in our first segment is our Attorney General candidate, David C. Graham, and our 20th District State Representative candidate, Don Ayotte, who is also our Special Operations Director. And in our second segment, Dave has a very, very special guest. So stay tuned for a detailed discussion, an in-depth discussion of family court issues, all for you here on Charles Potter's Straight Talk. Gentlemen, the campaign nationally and statewide is heating up. There is Larry Pressler in South Dakota running for U.S. Senate as an independent. His budget is approximately $100,000, and he's running against two of the so-called major party candidates whose war chests are in excess of $10 million each, and he's leading in the polls. But Dave, let's talk about your campaign. Give us the latest update. How's it going throughout the state? What are the voters telling you?
Well, they're telling me what they tell you, and that they're totally fed up with the two political parties that appear to be more interested in serving themselves than serving the public. And it's time for a good independent party to rise. And Delaware, with its brand of retail politics, where we're all so connected and interconnected, is a prime candidate to see the rise of the independent party.
Dave, you must be having an impact, because I understand some of your signs are mysteriously disappearing.
Yeah, it made my day. I drove down, we had a big event down in Sussex County I had to attend. And I had sent one of my supporters up into Newcastle County a little bit over a week ago to put out about 70 signs, throughout Newcastle County, around the TV station here, and so on, and up and down 13 and Route 1. And when I was traveling down the highway, a good number of them are gone, and that's high praise indeed for any candidate, because here I am, an independent candidate for Attorney General, and they see the need to take my signs. And well, it's illegal, but it's maybe a sign of what they do if they ever got in office.
Very interesting. Now, last week we were wondering about the Democrat and Republican candidates' campaign finance reports, and lo and behold, the Delaware State News has informed us, and informed everybody, actually published the news event, that the Delaware Elections Commissioner now says that the reports are not available on the internet, definitely not online, due to some mysterious and inexplicable software vendor problem. What do you make of that?
Well, let's just assume it's a glitch. The reports have to come out sometime. And we talked briefly last week. We were looking forward to seeing them, because this week we wanted to have them in front of us, because we were going to do a count of how many $1,200 checks my opponents have collected from the members of the Delaware State Bar, because it's no great secret our two-party political system is financed by the lawyers.
What's in their wallets? That's the question.
I don't
we'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know if you can use credit cards to make your $1,200. I hadn't thought of that. That's
Visa and MasterCards accepted. Who knows? Well, anyway, now, Dave, people have been asking us about some of your upcoming scheduled appearances. Where are you going to be this week?
Well, the big event this week is the the debate held at the Widener Delaware Law School up on Concord Pike on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, October 15th. It starts at 6 p.m. It's a joint effort. It's interesting that WDEL Radio, which is a state radio network, will be broadcasting that debate among the Attorney General candidates live on that night. And in addition, they've joined forces with Channel 12 TV, the PBS station based out of Philadelphia.
Excellent.
That is going to be recording the Attorney General's race and then rebroadcasting it on Friday at 5:30 in place of the usual first program, on Saturday at 5:30 in place of the first program, and on Sunday afternoons during our time slot next Friday, when we'll be having our show here, the Attorney General's debate will be shown on Sunday. So if you want to catch it, watch it on Friday and Saturday and save Sunday afternoon.
And it'll also be broadcast for the benefit of people downstate on Delaware 105.9, the affiliate station of Delaware.
And
WVL.
I think it's very interesting that I, as the person who's not a lawyer, running for Attorney General, is going to be right in the middle of all these lawyers at Delaware Law School.
Well, that's the thing about iPod. It differentiates us from those other parties. We're the party that is in search of creative solutions. We are thinking outside the box, and running a non-attorney CPA for Delaware Attorney General is definitely outside of the box.
Well, and we've had this discussion because my opponents would say, well, he's a CPA running. Calling me a CPA running for Attorney General is like saying that NASCAR driver Jeff Gordon likes to drive cars. Yes, that's how I started my career out 40 years ago, but I've been involved in Delaware politics a long time, and I was candidate for governor in 2004, the Republican primary. I was a candidate again for governor in 2008, paid the filing fee,
Right.
and they threw a family court judge in front of me to stop me from being on the ballot. And in 2010, when the Republicans put no one on the ballot for Attorney General, I filed as a write-in candidate just so you talked about the issues.
Exactly, and we met in the firehouse 4 years ago in Millsboro, and I said, here's a guy I would love to have on the iPod ticket, and lo and behold, four years later.
Well, it's no big secret. We're closed mouths about our strategy, and we
Right.
try to surprise them because you have to be good at strategy in politics in order to move forward. But in 2012, when the Republicans once again ran a throwaway for governor of Delaware, who spent less than $40,000 on the campaign, I jumped into. I called you and I said,
Right.
I'd like to be the write-in again, but I don't want to do it unless I have a political party behind me. And you went through the process because you do run
Sure.
this political party, and you endorsed me as the write-in candidate for Attorney General.
That was our
and we
pleasure
had a
to do that.
gentleman's agreement back in
Right.
2012 that I would be your Attorney General candidate, and we deliberately waited until the last day of the Delaware State Fair
Right.
to have our convention. And I went to the convention. I was nominated because I wanted to let the Democratic Party and the Republican Party well seat their candidates before I jumped into the race. And most of all, the heir apparent, the lieutenant governor of the state, didn't even bother to set up a booth that says he was running for Attorney General of Delaware. He's so cocksure that he's going to be elected on Election Day, and we're here to stop that.
Now, yesterday we had some fun down in Sussex County at the Apple Scrapple Festival. How'd that go?
It was great to see a lot of people that I've known because I'm a statewide candidate. I've worked in all three counties. Down in Sussex, I was 30 years ago. I was when I was 29 years old, I was a treasurer for Nanticoke Homes, which was $50 million a year business with 650 employees. That's where I got my executive experience as a senior executive in that company. And the most interesting thing was I happened to talk to someone, and we don't name names on this program, but she happened to work in the back office of the election commissioner's office because on Monday the Dover paper printed a letter that I wrote that suggested the technology election commissioner's office was outdated, and she was required to use technology, and I suggested that they take that blank column and label it write-in and put a button there for Sheriff Christopher so that they don't have a massive job of doing all the write-in votes. And it'll be interesting to see if the election commissioner does her job.
Yeah, when you look at it, write-in candidates, so 19th century, and we got all this 21st century state-of-the-art technology out there. Why not use one of the empty columns for the equivalent of a write-in candidate?
Because the election commissioner and the deputies might not care about all the work they're going to create, but there's a lot of people that are going to have a massive job on Election Day for several days going through that antiquated system of the write-in. And an important point that was brought out by them, if you go into an election booth and I'm the only write-in candidate for Attorney General, if Sheriff Reed is the only write-in candidate for sheriff in that county, as soon as that machine makes a racket, you no longer have a secret ballot.
Right. Now, actually it was rather good at the Apple Scrapple. I happened to run into Tom Carper, and we chatted a little bit about cutting-edge hydrokinetic electric generation technology. And it looks like our work to educate our congressional delegation, the rest of the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives, as well as a truckload of state officials, elected and appointed, is cut out for us. But I digress. Getting back to electoral integrity, what other measures will you work for as Attorney General?
Well, one of the reasons that Sheriff Christopher is running as a write-in candidate, and he is writing with our, we stood behind him after the election because the perception is it was a crooked election, not to mince words, and in that it was close. It was only by 21 votes he lost. And when you lose by that many, all they do is recount the absentee ballots because there's no audit trail in our system. In fact, part of the letter I wrote that was published in the Dover paper rated the Delaware system as substandard. So as Attorney General, I would advocate, in addition to probably, and I stated this in the letter, I would open an investigation. And we can't afford to have crooked elections in this state.
No,
it
definitely
ruins,
cannot.
Because it destroys the faith that people have in our political system.
And when that happens, people erode their faith in society in general, and then we have cultural and social decay. And we can't have any more of that.
And as Attorney General, and I don't have any original thought. I've read a lot of history and read the newspaper every day. I have very little original thought, but Teddy Roosevelt coined the term bully pulpit. If I were elected to Attorney General, I would have the bully pulpit on some of these issues.
And walking softly and carrying a big stick as well. But,
well, that was FDR said that.
No, that was Teddy.
That was Teddy.
That was Teddy. Yeah. That was Teddy.
And so yeah, and he's like my third favorite. I like Terry Truman.
Don, please fill us in a little bit about your independent campaign. What are the voters telling you in the 20th?
They're telling me they're ready for a change from the two-party system. They're not. They are not at all satisfied with the representation they're getting from the incumbent, my opponent. They like my platform of reading all the bills before voting on them, and also opposing unconstitutional, repressive, or defective legislation. And those things are only normal things. They shouldn't be anything new, but to the climate that we have now in the General Assembly, they are new ideas, because there's a lot of going along to get along there. You vote for my bill, I'll vote for yours, and we'll both read the synopsis when we all know that in the synopsis only gives a short, brief account of the bill. But
well, very good.
Well,
thank you, Don. I think we'll be right back with David Graham with an in-depth discussion of Delaware family court reform here on Charles Potter Straight Talk.
Watching over me. Oh, just lift your hand in here if you really know I got an angel. Even when I sleep at night, can't eat a bite. I really know, I really know, I really know, I really know, I really know I got an angel. Yeah. Oh, I do know. Ooh, yeah. I got an angel. You got an angel. Oh, yeah. Oh, one more time, y'all. I got an angel. Ooh, yeah. Oh, angel, yeah. I really got an angel, y'all. Oh, yeah. Listen. me say something. I'm so glad that the Lord kept angels around us. How many of y'all glad that the Lord has angels following us, keeping us from all hurt, harm, and danger? When it looks like accidents are coming our way, God will keep an angel in front of it. How many of y'all been there? You know what I'm talking about. But I'm so glad that the Lord has kept me. There have been times that I just wanted to give up, and I found out that there was nobody like Jesus. And I lost my mom. I was like, who else can I lean on? Who else can I talk to? And I always like to remember my mom, the things that she taught me and how she brought me up. Dr. Mattie Moss Clark, come on, let's thank God for my mom, Dr. Mattie Moss Clark. And if she was here tonight, she would say it like this. I got an angel. I got an angel. That was me. I said, say it like this, mama. Angel, angel, angel. And she'll say it like this. She'll say, angel, angels, angels. Oh, she do that. I said, do it like this, mama. Angel, oh, yeah. She say, I ain't doing.
Hi, this is Dave Graham. I'm the Independent Party candidate for Attorney General in the second segment of our show, and we'll be doing this between now and Election Day every Sunday at 2:30 on Charles Potter's Straight Talk. I'll be trying to bring in separate guests to talk about special issues, and I have a special guest here today, Cynthia Smith. And Cynthia, welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
And we'll get right into it because we have more things to talk about than we have time available. But just to review, we first met in 2008 on the bus to Washington, D.C., and we were going with the Republican Party there, and I was the file candidate for governor at that time. And we met and we talked about family court, and then I believe you went to the governor's prayer breakfast with me.
Yes.
In May, when I was, before they knocked me out of the race. And we did not really communicate again until it was, I believe, December, just this last year, 2013.
Yes.
Recall that event?
Yes, I remember getting a call, and I was asked to go to Connecticut.
Right. In fact, John Flaherty, the former head of Common Cause, was supposed to go with me because what had happened was the Delaware State Senate, the senators and the state representatives have had their fill of having to listen to their constituent complaints about the family court, which I suggest is probably the worst family court in the United States of America. And I had experience with the Connecticut court, and I told them, well, I'll take someone up there and show them how a court is supposed to be run for the benefit of the citizens of the state. And you at the last minute were brought in, and then you made the connection. You knew me,
yes.
And we went to Connecticut for 2 days.
Yes, we did. We had a informative all-day event there, and we were welcomed by the security, and it's totally different from what we experience here when we go to family court.
And in fact, you did a write-up of that, and you
Yes, I did.
were actually asked by the state capital paper, the Delaware State News. You did a guest column, and they printed it in the Sunday paper, and you stated that Delaware should follow the model of Connecticut.
Yes. In fact, there was a copies made on what the task force did in Connecticut. And it is 119 pages of documents that should be adopted in Delaware. for the Blue Ribbon Task Force, and they were given to each of the commission at the task force.
Right, and it was very well. Our adventure in Connecticut was you wrote in your column you wanted to pinch yourself because you couldn't believe what you saw.
Yes.
You entered another universe.
Yes, I was so welcomed. As soon as I stepped in the courtroom, I mean just the door itself and all the securities were so nice and welcoming.
And it was a totally open court.
Yes.
In fact, that morning we met with a lawyer who practiced there, and we said, well, what's closed? He says, nothing's closed, it's all open.
Yes, and you notice about the cell phone. Everybody can bring their cell phone, not just lawyers.
It wasn't the fortress that the lawyers in Delaware have created.
Yeah, and I did not have to remove my shoes.
Yeah, you were very impressed by that.
Yes.
And
yes.
they actually welcomed, and the interesting thing was they have, I believe this is true, they have an executive director who runs the court system. And I believe he may or may not be a lawyer. I suspect he's not, because as I advocate as Attorney General candidate, not a lawyer, you shouldn't have lawyers running anything. I don't believe they have the leadership or the management experience. And I believe we saw an example of that in Connecticut, where the judges are paid professional career people who go there to be judges, and they treat people with courtesy and respect in their courtroom.
Yes, and also the way when they knew we were monitoring their court case, that we're from Delaware, they were actually so happy to have us over there that they gave us the front seat.
Yeah, they brought us up to the front.
Yes.
And they told us, and you put this in your article, it was very interesting, the country of Russia actually sent a delegation to Connecticut to study their court and their family court because they wanted the best. And it's ironic to me that the country of Russia cares more about its children and its parents and its grandparents and the families of their country than the state of Delaware cares about its own citizens. And let's cut to the chase. It's about the lawyers making money. We saw that at the task force, didn't we? In January, February.
Yes, I was surprised that they have lawyers invited there. And one thing that I noticed is that they are for closing the court, where we have a constitutional court which is open. So
Yeah,
I don't understand why they are actually. And we talk about this, about having the lawyers and the judges operating in closed court.
Well, a judge is a lawyer in the skivvies with a judicial robe on. I'm not delicate in my opinion. In 2004, I ran for governor as a one-issue candidate, and I spoke plainly. And I said back then, as I say now, any court of law that operates in secret is inherently corruptive and dishonest because of the institutionalized greed and dishonesty of those engaged in the business of law. This issue of the family court is not going to go away, and it won't go away until we get our senators and our representatives and a governor and a lieutenant governor, because our lieutenant governor was not in that room that day helping us move this issue forward. I had to take a vacation day to go there and be there with you. And they kept no record. They didn't, what they said in the report contravened what was said in the testimony.
Yes.
And again, the lawyers all showed up because it's about them making money.
My concern is when the media have to cover those kind of, the task force meeting, I'd like to see it both sides, not just one side. Like having to see it,
I like to see it run more like a Watergate hearing, where everybody's on the record. We need to start running this state in the proper manner. And obviously they don't want me to be Attorney General anymore, they want me to be governor, because there's so many things wrong in this state. But when I hear people talk about, and I'll be blunt here, child pornography and molesting young children, those are awful things. But we have a court in this state that is the biggest abuser of children and families here, and they do it for financial gain, and they're sicker than any child molester.
When I read you running for governor before, I actually where can I, find you? Because I really like, people that are running for office, that their platform would be the family court, the family issue, because, this is very important to us.
Well, I had fun down in Sussex. We talked in the earlier venture, and At the last, before I left, I was talking to an auctioneer. He was there with his wife, and he said, when I have to need a lawyer, I have to go to Dover because these Georgetown lawyers are so crooked. When they die, you got to screw them into the ground. Sometimes I swear I'm into the funny, but it's a serious problem in this state, and they do not care about us. They do not care about the children and the families, and they do so much damage, and it's throughout the state.
Yeah, my concern too is that when you are asked, in the Family Law Commission, about the perjury, they're actually pointing fingers. The Attorney General saying, well, we're, hoping that the judges would let us know, who to investigate, stuff like that. But then again, when the judges start talking in Family Law Commission, they said it's up to the Attorney General to actually investigate perjury.
Well, it is interesting. As Attorney General, I do have authority over protection from abuse, the PFAs. And there's only one case I know that anyone was ever prosecuted for perjury, and it was an extreme case. Someone was running for political office in Delaware, I believe it was 2 years ago, and during the election, someone went in there and made false claims against him to get a PFA against him to damage him politically, and then it was so horrible they had to proceed and do a perjury charge against him. And as Attorney General, your objective is to stop things from happening, not wait till it gets so far out of control that the lawyers have to get involved. They like it, they make money. But as Attorney General, I would look to try to set an example. And if you set a few examples, people are going to be very hesitant. And this is Dave Graham. We're coming to the end of our show. And we had a special request. People liked it that we put on our hats because we have a lot of hats on events today. You gentlemen are going down to be with the sheriff at Kent County at 6 p.m. So hats on. And until next week on the Charles Potter Straight Talk program, this is Dave Graham, the candidate for Attorney General. My special guest, Cynthia Smith of DelCog.
Don Ayotte.
Don Ayotte, Special Ops and Representative candidate down in Sussex County. And our chairman, Wolfgang von Baumgarten. So.
This is